does it mean to build a legacy on your own terms? Hi, I'm Tanya Hendricks, and this is Legacy Her Way, the podcast where we explore how women are creating powerful personal legacies through family, faith, business, community, and beyond. From foster moms to founders, creatives to caregivers, we go beyond the buzzwords and talk about real life, real impact, and the values that guide us all. Whether you're building wealth, raising kids, or launching your next big thing, this space is for you. Now, this episode is sponsored by Huntsville Estate Planning Lawyer LLC, where we empower your vision and secure your future through estate planning and trademarks. So let's talk legacy, her way, your way, the way that matters most. Today's guest is someone who is building her legacy. Her journey embodies all that it means to build that legacy. Her name is Olivia Oxford, and she's an entrepreneur who's a consultant with the Feel Great system, Unicity, and she's a TikTok sensation. She likes to climb mountains, literally and figuratively. So, welcome to the show, Olivia.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Happy to be here today.
I'm so excited that you're here with us, and you are building that legacy. One step at a time, just like you're building, like you rock climb. So one step at a time. All right, what I want to get started with is before we jump into the Feel Great system and what you're doing with them with Unicity. I want the audience to hear a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit about Olivia.
Sure. So, my name is Olivia Oxford. I am in Alabama, and I'm originally from Louisiana. So, I've been living in Alabama for about 2.5 years now. I'm in my mid 20s, and I have been married for about a year and a half.
Congratulations, you're still a newlywed.
Yes, yes.
What brought you to Alabama from Louisiana?
My, at the time, boyfriend, now husband's job opportunity, and also knowing too that it would be a great place to enjoy this city at our stage of life.
Okay. Have you found it to be a good city for your stage of life?
Absolutely. I am very happy in Huntsville. I have a great group of friends and really, really enjoy it.
Good. All right. Well, I know that you are, I called your consultant with the Feel Great system or Unicity. Is that what your actual title is as
It's
consultant?
more of a digital franchise. Basically, I have a digital franchise in Unicity, so that would be a good way to describe it.
Okay. So tell us your journey to Unicity.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to share. So, I first started using the Feel Great system at the very end of 2022. So, I'll be coming up on 3 years at the end of the year. And started using it because my now husband's mom was using it, and she actually got connected through social media. And he started using it, and I guess the FOMO hit because I really enjoyed seeing their experience and hearing about it as well.
Mhm.
And I started using it, but it wasn't until 2024, so a little over a year ago, that I decided to do this as a business opportunity. So I've done networking groups, I've also just shared word of mouth. Of course, Tanya has mentioned my social media, but
Mhm.
these are a few avenues that I've been able to actually share about the Feel Great system.
Okay. And I apologize if you can hear the garbage truck is driving by this afternoon rather than this morning. So when you said you first saw your in-laws using the system, what was it that attracted you to that? I mean, you said you saw them using it, but what was it that attracted you to that particular system?
Absolutely. So, back kind of in summer of 2022, my mother in law got contacted through social media because she was talking about the topics of insulin resistance and health. And she's actually a nurse and a diabetes educator. So, she started talking about this, and I was like, there's such a need for this with such a metabolic health crisis that we're in. And I, like many other people, had a very large sweet tooth, lots of snacking, and was very stubborn actually in the beginning. And I don't mind sharing that because, kind of with an open mind, I've been able to see that just the experience from them and other folks and wanted to try it for myself. And it has really significantly helped with snacking, my sweet tooth, my energy. And I just really encourage people in my line of work that if you're metabolically unhealthy and you feel like you're stuck, you don't always have to be, because you can reverse insulin resistance and you can be healthy.
What does it mean when you say metabolically unhealthy?
Yeah, so in really simple terms, it just means that we're kind of always we're always burning sugar, and we're never letting our body tap into stored fat. And just a little bit about me, I have my degree in finance, so kind of that type of experience before stepping into a health world. So I had a lot to learn as well, and I kind of was able to take down some preconceived notions and just welcome things with an open mind. So I started to realize that, insulin is a hormone that dictates whether we can burn or store fat, and have learned a lot from my husband's mom, my mother-in-law, and also my husband. And then I started to realize, well, if we're spiking insulin all day long, then we're never going to be able to tap into stored fat. So a lot of my content on social media is about insulin, insulin resistance. Health doesn't have to be as hard as we think it is, because when it comes down to insulin, we're able to be in a healthier way if we understand it.
Mhm. So when you say it doesn't have to be as difficult as we think it is, what makes it easy with the Unicity, with the Feel Great system?
Yeah, so the Feel Great system is a natural metabolic protocol. It's actually in your doctor's digital reference. They can look it up just as you could look it up on your phone. So you could look it up and see, how it works. I think a lot of people come to something like this with a lot of questions, but essentially something that helps you with fasting and something that helps you with fiber going alongside of intermittent fasting, which someone may or may not want to welcome in the beginning. I know in the beginning I was like, I'm not skipping breakfast, but again, stubborn at first. So it is essentially just a two-part natural protocol that helps you when you're not eating. You can sip on something called a yerba mate. Well, that's the first piece. And then when you have your meal, you put this matrix before it that's not just fiber. It is a glucose. It helps with your glucose. It helps with cholesterol, just to name a few. And the two products together work to create the protocol.
Why is helping people with their health and their health journey important to you?
So again, going back to how health is oftentimes portrayed as something that seems very unachievable or out of reach for someone. And whether you're 25, 45, 75, you may have some preconceived ideas of what you believe to be healthy. And a lot of people are on their own path, but it's really important for me to come from a place of encouragement. I think that comes through in my videos. That just tells you, whether you are, someone with PCOS and you're trying to, you know, break free of that, or you have stubborn belly fat. Health is so widespread, even though it's just the topic of health. And many of those aspects can be enhanced if you are willing to do the work. So you can better your health as long as you have an open mind and you're willing to do the work. And I just try to live out loud to the best of my ability and encourage people to do the same.
Mhm. So you said a minute ago that you got your degree in finance. So you were on
Mhm.
a particular path for, because I mean, when you went to school, you weren't expecting to sell a product, were you? Or like nothing like
Correct.
this.
Correct. Yes.
So how difficult was it when you started learning about the Feel Great system, Unicity, and you decided you wanted to actually sell that product? How difficult was it for you to put that aside? Like, I got a degree in finance and I'm going to do what? Or did you have family that was saying you got a degree in finance, you're going to do what? I mean, tell us about that part of the journey.
Sure. So this would be right around a year ago. And also, too, my husband does the Feel Great system. So he has a true 9 to 5 job and also does the Feel Great business as well. So just seeing his success and really seeing his work ethic and his desire to help people. He also has a pretty significant, much more significant social media following, but his support really just encouraged me. I was someone who grew up making little vlogs and recording myself and my closest friends at the beach. So recording wasn't something that was off-putting. It was actually something that I invited. But I remember making my first video that was going to go on social media right around April, and just trying to press record and knowing that it was going to be posted widespread, going to be seen. That was a little bit of a learning curve. But as far as the having the degree in finance, it has helped me to bring, a unique set of skills into what I do. And I think the health aspect really just comes from a care for people, because if you're able to enhance your health, that transforms into your quality of life. So I was never really worried about having a degree that was finance, and this kind of just fell into my lap, and I've really just welcomed it over the last year.
Mhm. You mentioned earlier that you've had to get out and network and do things and do the videos. Are you naturally an outgoing social person, or did it take some work?
Definitely the former. So I'm very outgoing. I'm one of those people that, of course, I like my time with, one-on-one friends, or time just, a quiet night at home, things like that. But on the majority of my days, I'd say I'm more of the extrovert, outgoing person. And that's actually how Tanya and I got connected, was through a networking group. So just being willing to talk about this and give the Feel Great system and myself and what I can bring to the table visibility was not hard for me. It was actually quite easy. So I knew that a good opportunity for giving this visibility was going to be joining a networking group and getting connected with people. So it's always been pretty easy. I've kind of been like that even well before this opportunity of the Feel Great system.
Well, for people who are listening, they may be interested in, a number of things, but if they are thinking of building a business, one of the things that we have to do, I mean, obviously we have to network and meet people, but the social media side of things is also kind of a required given, in these days. How difficult was it for you to record that first video? You say that, it kind of was difficult because you realized it was going to go out there. A lot of people are going to see it. How difficult was it to press play? And then once you did record it, did you stress over trying to get it perfect? Did you do multiple takes? Did you just say, I'm one and done? Tell us about that.
Sure. So I remember exactly where I was, and almost to the day. It was mid-April of 2024. So I was at the gym. My husband and I were, I believe it was a Saturday, if I'm thinking of it correctly, but just sitting there with the phone in hand. Of course, I had used, social media before. I'm not new to it, but I was new to creating videos and specific content that was going to go back to what I do for work and not just for fun. So the first video, I still remember being at the gym, and I think I was just going to do like a little play on word about weights versus like weights, something along those lines. And also that same day, do an introduction video. So it just took a moment. And what I ended up doing was, recording it and clipping it together, but not stressing if it was going to be perfect. Because what some of the things that we're taught in what we do is, if you were to stress about making the perfect video, it's never going to get put out there, and people are never going to receive the information. So it's better to, be confident about it, put the video together, and not try to sit there and nitpick it. So I want to say it only took me a couple takes, but I still remember also too the fact that it was in public. We were at the gym and people were there. It was kind of like, oh wait, this is, in real time. But I've really thoroughly enjoyed the videos and hope that they continue to encourage people.
So when you were ready to press play, you're there in a public location. Were you worried about what other people around you would think or say or do?
Only if it was going to be a distraction, only if the people were going to, walk past me and I have to re record it. Never like a judgment, for lack of a better word. It was more so, will someone walk by me and now I have to redo this?
Mhm. Do you think that may be, though, something that holds some people back from doing these videos is concerned about the judgment element and what other people are going to say or think or do?
Unfortunately, I would say so, because people may, and albeit I have learned a lot in over a year of doing it, how to make the videos more engaging. I've had some videos get some traction. I've gotten inspiration from my husband, who's been really successful, and others, like my mother-in-law, she's pretty successful as far as the business and specifically social media. So just being willing to try. It's like if you play a sport and you never go out there and hit the ball, you're just missing on practice, practice, practice. So if you were to go back and look at my beginning videos, of course, they're going to be a little bit different because my style has kind of changed. But if someone's on the fence about doing it and that's truly what's holding them back, I would encourage them that what they have to say, whether it's health related or, you know, any topic that's going to be beneficial to people, think to yourself, is it worth you potentially, having a little bit of a learning curve? Is it worth the message not getting out there? Because it's most likely something that people need to hear, especially if you're passionate about it. So it's worth a little bit of discomfort in the beginning just to get the message out.
Have you, or maybe you've seen it with your husband, have y'all received any pushback or any kind of like negative comments from people or kind of rude or mean comments?
I still remember I had a video that was getting some traction, especially in the beginning. I think it's hit over 100,000 views, which seemed huge. I still remember being with family that weekend. I was like, my video is going so big, and it just felt so cool and fun. But people had some rude things to say, and I remember actually calling my mom. So she and I are really close. Although she lives still in Louisiana. And I was like, Mom, I'm getting my first negative comments. And she's like, what? And I'm telling her, people have some rude things to say. Essentially, the video, so you had mentioned TikTok, but my content is across other social medias, and this was on Instagram, I believe. And basically people were commenting that my suggestions for how to make the most out of a hotel breakfast were not the best, when I'm just thinking about it from insulin. Carbohydrates and sugar are going to spike your insulin. How can you start your day off better? Hard boiled eggs instead of cereal, those types of things. And people just ripped me up in the comments. But what we do now is essentially remove the comments, because it's probably someone who is has too much time on their hands and is just spamming you basically. So I don't let that be a problem. I just carry on. So, but I still remember those first couple comments.
Mhm. And I think it's important to stress that, I mean, you had those negative comments, but it did not stop you from creating more videos because you've still created content. You've still put videos out there despite the negative comments that you've received. I mean, I mean, when you put yourself out there in public, you are going to receive some negative pushback at some point. And so I think it's important for our listeners to think through that. Yes, I may put some stuff out there. Yes, I'm going to get some negative feedback, but it's not the end of the world. You can't let other people dictate what you do. I mean, let me stop there. People who you know, like, and trust, if they are giving you constructive feedback, yes, let them influence you. But if it's just some of these people out there, they're the keyboard warriors, they're just giving you their opinion. You don't know who they are. Don't let them stop you from what you're doing. Keep plugging away, because it's your dream that you're building, not theirs. And it's your life and it's not theirs. And so you keep doing what you've got to do to build toward your dream and your legacy, despite what other people are saying. So, when you're going back, that's because I do feel like there will be some people who want to do videos, who want to create content. When you decided to press play on that first video or press record on that first video, how long did it take you to get to that point? Like, had you been thinking about it for days, for weeks? Was it just that day? You're like, I really need to do some videos. I'm going to do it today. How long do you remember how long of a time span that was?
Trying to think. So I think the idea to actually go ahead and move forward with doing Unicity, because again, my husband had been doing it since summer of 2023. His mom had been doing it a whole year before him. Both had had success on social media and in the business. So I think the decision to actually be serious about it and not just think about TikTok and other social media as something, oh, maybe so, but to actually commit to doing videos, to commit to networking this, to commit to speaking about this, to commit to calling people and inviting them to, for example, like we have a science call and a business call, and actually do something with it instead of, oh, this sounds like a good idea. The first thought that, okay, I want to do this was probably within a week of making the video. So I created my social media, told a few folks about it, followed some people, and just kind of got started. It wasn't super long, it was more on the shorter side.
You mentioned success a minute just as then in your answer. What does success look like to you?
So, success for me is, of course, going to be more than money. So, it's going to be more than seeing a number on a paycheck, so to speak. Success is, for me, personally and professionally, I'll kind of give an example of both. So, professionally, I would say in these networking groups that I've been, specifically, how I met Tanya, people most likely didn't know about the Feel Great system, didn't know about some of the topics that I was talking about. And, now I was able to bring visibility. To me, that's successful. For me, looking back on my videos and seeing how far I was able to come, that's successful. That's being successful for all of those types of things where it's hard to actually put a label on it to mark it as successful or not, waking up in the morning and deciding to go to the gym, that's being successful. There's no dollar signs in that. So that's personally, and being able at the end of the day to live out loud with trying to encourage people. Of course, for me, for work, it's going to be for their health, but to encourage, people in and outside of those topics, that's going to be success for me.
What other ways do you encourage people outside of the Feel Great system?
That's a great question. I've always been, humbly I'm going to say this, but I've always been a good listener and a good friend. So some of my closest friends are still in Louisiana and, are based from Louisiana. My friendships from Louisiana, even though they may have moved. Thinking of a few of my girlfriends from growing up in Louisiana, being a person that is going to listen before speaking, going to, if you call, going to give you support. And of course, I've learned a lot being newly married, of course, over the last year and a half. So just being someone who's encouraging, who's a good friend, and really tries to show up every day and give it all she can. Because if I were to be trying to encourage someone, but I'm not putting in the work for myself, then that doesn't add up. So
Mhm. All right. Well, that kind of leads into another question, very similar. What's something that you hope people will remember about you, personally and or professionally?
actually really enjoyed this question when I was looking over the question list from Tanya, because there's a lot that people can remember about a person, good, bad, ugly, otherwise. And I'm speaking, at this moment in time with Tanya on her podcast in my 20s, right? But conversations like this can span into your, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond,
Mhm.
how you're treating people. So I thought about it, when we meet people and whether or not it's for a lifelong friend, which I have a few of, or your spouse, something like that, we hope, and in this instance I hope to leave that person better. So, you know of course what I do for work, I think I've touched on that enough, but just in my personal life, to be someone who goes to the grocery store and doesn't just stare down at the floor, or be someone who puts in the work for relationships, family and friendships, things like that, because you can kind of move through this life just moving day by day and thinking that, you're, oh, you're doing enough, or maybe you're glued to your phone, things like that, where it just takes a moment to break out of that. I hope that people remember me as someone who, and even continue to think of me as someone who wasn't always on the phone, was happy to listen, talk to people, that small talk in person, but also had meaningful friendships, and was able to think of me as a resource and as a good friend as well.
What are some of the things you're doing to maintain your meaningful friendships, particularly with the friends from Louisiana that you've all kind of scattered out everywhere?
Sure. So I am very fortunate. I have great friends in Alabama that have taken a little bit to build a community. Of course, I'm still getting to know these girls in some capacity, but for example, my friends from Louisiana, it's specifically two friends who one I've been friends with for over 20 years, one I've been friends with for pushing 13 years. So it just takes a little bit of effort. So if we're both in town, if we're both in Louisiana, just trying to coordinate to get together, if we are finding ourselves not seeing each other for weeks, months, which can happen. I mean, this even kind of goes into one of my relationships with my brother who lives in Colorado. You have to be willing to, you know, if you're not able to see someone because you're not living in close proximity to them, you have to be willing, if the relationship is important to you, to pick up the phone, call them, check in, continue to share updates about what's going on in your life or personally, professionally, and put in the effort, because it could be really easy to let the distance take the relationship from what it was and to kind of let it fizzle. But if a person is willing, and of course the types of friends that I have, and my brother that I'd mentioned as well, just thinking of those three, my friend Sarah, my good friend Alexa, and my brother Nick, just from distance, you just have to be willing to do a little bit more effort.
It takes effort, it takes some work, it takes intentionality to maintain those friendships and relationships.
Absolutely.
Um, how do you want your work with the Feel Great system to impact people you may never meet? So you've got TikTok, you got your other social media, you've got followers. Some people I would imagine you've never met in real life. How are you hoping that your work and kind of what you're sharing through social media, through this podcast, will actually impact people?
When I think of this question, Tanya, I think about social media comes to mind, but there are people who I've met once, maybe kind of halfway met at a networking group, or who could potentially stumble across your podcast, or who may find my videos on social media if they go look my videos up, for example. And I hope that they're going to find that the person that I am truly just day to day on a Tuesday is going to be the same in this podcast, that's going to be the same in a video, because again, it all goes back to living out loud and wanting to bring my authentic self to people and trying to just be pretty similar across the board. Obviously, you know, if someone's never met me and they follow me on social media, or if I were to reach out to someone, via Messenger on a social media app, just kind of saying hello or trying to build a relationship or friendship, they don't know me, so they don't know that I'm friendly in real life. They just don't know that. So they may be hesitant to be receptive, but I just try to put myself out there because there's going to be some people who are waiting for the opportunity to be healthy or maybe want to do what I do as a business opportunity. And it's just going to be about timing.
Mhm. So the name of this podcast is Legacy Her Way. What does that phrase, Legacy Her Way, mean to you?
Sure thing. So I thought about this as well and love the namesake of the podcast in specifically the sense of her way. So, when you look at your options for essentially how you want your life to look like in terms of how you spend your days, specifically Monday through Friday. Many people are going to have their 9 to 5 computer jobs or going into the office. Many people are, just going about it that way. But for me, it took a moment in time to step back and think, of course I have the support of my family, my husband, and that is something I'm very grateful for. But just to do something that isn't standard 9 to 5 and to be willing to just work it and see and continue to have this with me. But 9 to 5 or just the standard, if you're willing to do the work, have the open mind, and know the confidence in yourself to do so, then you can do the same as well.
Nice. Well, Olivia, how can people find you?
Absolutely. So Tanya has shared my social media, or the fact that I have social media. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at olivia.climbs33. So my first name, Olivia, period, CLIMBS 33. So olivia.climbs33 on Instagram and TikTok. And my Facebook also has health content that is going to be just Olivia Oxford, my last name.
Now, we didn't really talk about, I mentioned it in the intro, but you do like to climb, correct?
I
You're,
do, yes.
yeah. Do you climb? I know you climb some of the indoor facilities around Huntsville. Do you actually climb the mountains in the area, or you go
No,
places?
I've only stuck to indoor climbing, and that has definitely been so fun for moving to Huntsville. Just the things that happen when you go to a new city. You may just by moving, you may find a new hobby. You may find a group of people that you had not known otherwise. So that's been really fun. But no outdoor climbing.
Well, you can find Olivia online at olivia.climbs33. And you can find her in some of, you want to meet with her in person, you can probably find her in some of the local climbing facilities. So, Olivia, thank you so much for joining us today on Legacy Her Way. And for those of you listening, I want to thank you for listening to Legacy Her Way. If today's conversation inspired you, moved you, or made you think differently about what legacy means, you're not alone. And whether you are in your mid 20s like Olivia, or you're in your 40s like me, I think you can learn a lot from what Olivia had to say today about her passion to help people and how that has driven her to kind of pivot from one trajectory to another. So be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, please leave a review to help more women find inspiration for their own path to legacy. Until next time, keep building boldly, loving deeply, and living your legacy her way. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.